Hi everyone and welcome back to another Arty class with Shopkeep Arty. I'm Kelly and I'm the host for today. Our shop platform is used by artists and other creatives to take the hassle out of selling whatever they want online. Visit YouTube and search for About Shopkeep Arty. There's a video all about our shop platform for artists there. For those of you who are joining us for the first time today, be it in the interactive webinar and Zoom or on YouTube live, welcome. Our free weekly Arty classes feature popular and award-winning artists and are designed for all ages, providing a creative escape 2 times a week at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So no need to forget. You do need to register, as I'm sure you know, for each interactive webinar, and you can do this by visiting Shopkeep Arty. I'll just share my screen with you so you can see. Here, a minute. So you can visit our website, Shopkeep Arty, and this is basically the page you need to bookmark Arty classes. And you can scroll down here and see all our forthcoming Arty classes and workshops with artists. You can see previous Arty classes up here, which are all free, and previous workshops can be purchased through this here. Okay. So we hunt out the best artists around the world and share them with you for an hour live every week, totally free. So if you enjoy it, you then get an opportunity to join an artist for a later date for a workshop where they will share many more tips and techniques with you to really make you a better artist. And there's an opportunity to work on obviously because there's more time, on a larger piece, more detailed, but still have a more, still have all the fun and a more leisurely time. And it's a bit more of an intimate experience over the 2 to 3 hours. So it's really good fun and a great way to develop your artistic skills, and you have a great piece of art to show at the end of it. And also excellent value at £35 for a 2.5 to 3 hour workshop with a professional artist. So before I introduce our artist for today, John Devitt, I just want to remind everyone, as always, that we can't see or hear you. So if you have a question or a comment, please put that in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Or if you would like to ask a question direct, you can raise your hand and I can let you in. And if you're watching on YouTube, there is a little bit of a delay, but you can type a message in the chat box and we'll do our best to answer that live for you too. So finally, we'll stop around halfway to take a short break where I'll invite John to share how we can build on the techniques he's teaching us today in his forthcoming workshop. So this week, I'm delighted to welcome John Devitt. John worked in education before concentrating on his artwork career. His inspiration comes from many sources, such as coast locations and rural landscapes around the UK. He adopts several different styles, including a loose drawing and watercolor approach, and a more illustrative, naive style, which we're working on today. It's worth looking at his website to see his other styles, and hopefully we'll get him back to do some more classes on those. He exhibits regularly in Bedfordshire and Suffolk, and his work sells internationally. His face-to-face workshops are often oversubscribed, and he enjoys adopting an informal but honest view as to how he paints. So we're really looking forward to painting along with him today. And he's going to teach us how to paint this small coastal scene. So welcome, and over to you, John. I'll just put the camera on you. Hi.
Thank you, Kelly.
Welcome.
I'm really pleased to be here. I've been looking forward to this for quite a long time now. I've just noticed at the bottom of the screen there's sort of over 100 people watching, which is the biggest, if you like, workshop that I've ever done, to be honest. I'm going to start off by talking about materials, pens, paper, paints, etc.
Actually, just before we do that, yeah. So Mary has asked me, I have drawn mine up and done an A5. What is the original size?
The original size is postcard size.
Which, okay, yeah, a bit smaller than A5.
But A5 isn't a problem, but...
Yeah, small. I hope that's okay, Mary. Thank you. Thank you, John. Continue.
Okay. Right, so, as I say, I'm really pleased to be here. I've watched some of the other videos of previous art sessions this morning and a couple of days earlier, and I'm really impressed with what people are doing. I particularly enjoyed the one with Ian Fennelly and the one with Tim Fisher, and I feel quite privileged to be part of that, really.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to talk about paper first of all. So I use Langton watercolor paper, and I don't often stretch the paper because I don't use an awful lot of water in my paintings. If I was doing something large scale, maybe a commission for somebody, I would make sure that the paper was stretched. But in this case, I just normally use sort of Langton pads, really. It's £140. It's made of cotton, and
Can you put it under the camera, John?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. And into the middle a bit more, left to your left. That's it. I
normally start by drawing myself a frame. It's just the particular way I work. In this case, this is postcard size. And pens. So the pens I use two particular pens. I use this one, which is a Watercolor permanent pen, and a fine grade there. And I also use, for details, a Unipin fine liner 0.2. You could use 0.3, you could use 0.4. 0.1 millimeters tends to be a bit scratchy on the paper, so that's why I stick with 2, and it's just one of those habits I've got into. That's what I use. Just a little anecdote before we talk about paints is that over the years I must have bought well over 100 of these pens, and I recently discovered that actually from Amazon you can get this, which is a refill for the pen.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Didn't know that. That's amazing.
And you literally just stick the pen in till it clicks, leave it overnight, and the pen will soak up the ink.
Oh goodness.
That's about £5.
Brilliant. How many sort of refills do you reckon?
I can't. This is the second one I've bought in a year. So
wow.
I know.
You must get through quite a few.
Well, this is an old box, basically. I'll just show you this. This is an old box, just absolutely full of used pens that have all been refilled.
Amazing.
And so what I do now is when I do face-to-face workshops, I take the pens with me, and if anybody hasn't got any one of those pens, then they're more than welcome to have it, because there's I can't throw them away, that I'm out of plastic. But yeah, it's really good, refillable. Sadly, these aren't refillable, so these do kind of run out eventually. I normally buy them from Amazon. I normally buy them in a box, because if you go to stationers, you're looking at a couple of £pounds each, so you can save some money there. In terms of paints, I'm a bit embarrassed about showing you my palette because it's absolutely filthy. There you go.
Don't worry, all artists say the same.
I use St. Petersburg watercolors. They're also known as White Knights, and they're Russian watercolors. And this was a box of, I think, 36, which is why there's gaps in it, is because I take out the shades that I very, very rarely use, and just makes life easier. I also have tubes, and I have 2 tubes. I have the indigo and I have the yellow ochre, because they're the 2 colors that I use most. So if you look at my palette and look at the yellow ochre, you can see that, you know, there's very, very little left. Similarly with the indigo, I get through so much of it that it makes sense for me to buy just those 2 colors in tubes, because
pens don't last well.
I use them on a daily basis.
Okay.
The paint, the White Knight paint set, I particularly like them. I find the quality really, really good. I like the way that they blend. and I like their range of shades. You can buy smaller sets. You can buy 6, 12, I think, 24. Have a look at White Knights or St. Petersburg watercolors. It comes with lots of Russian marketing merchandise inside, and I obviously don't speak Russian, but it's quite nice to get something so what's the word?
Authentic.
Yeah, authentic. So
let's draw and paint.
So in terms of brushes, this is a number 6, a number 2. Rarely use anything else. And if you're anything like me, you just get used to the way a certain brush operates, and you just go back to it time and time again. And if I misplace these for whatever reason, I'm lost without them. So we've got our frame, which is postcard size. And we are going to start by drawing in some lines. Now, habit, or I don't know what, I always start with the foreground, and I always start at the bottom of a painting. I know some people prefer to work top to bottom. I work bottom to top. It's just evolved that way, really. So just going back to the pens briefly, you've got the permanent Lumacolor pen is what I use for the outlines of walls and buildings, and a bit of detail later. But for the detail on the buildings, I use the thin 0.2 millimeter pen. If you make a mistake, you know, it's not a problem. I would just carry on using the pen you were using to finish off that particular part of the painting, rather than try and swap it halfway through. So, how I start, I literally start by drawing the foreground, a wall, a gate, a bit haphazard.
It's quite forgiving.
Yeah, the thing I like about these pens, if I just quickly flip this over, the thing I like about these pens is...
Just need to move the slightly to the left, I think, John. That's it. Perfect.
The State Lumacolor is, as soon as you have drawn a line, you can paint over it without it bleeding.
Oh, that is good.
Instantly. So, back to the wall. Got a wall just extending towards the end of the frame I'm using. Going to start to draw house here. I mean, I'm looking at the reference picture that you had from the site.
Yeah, you also provided a sketch as well.
I did. So
people can refer to that. Maybe.
Yeah. I tend to just draw outlines to start with. I don't go in for details at this point at all. So I'm leaving that. I'm going to do this boat shed that's next to it. Might actually have to stick another house in there, because we have a slight, in my opinion, we have a slight error there. I'll talk to you about that later. So we'll stick another house in there. That covers that up rather nicely. These kind of warehouses just behind the house. Top of the quay wall. Just extending down. Probably pop another house in there. So I'm not sticking exactly to the reference sketch. I'm putting a few more things in where a line hasn't perhaps gone where I've wanted it to.
So it's kind of made up of different elements.
Yeah.
Houses, the warehouses.
Yeah, one of the things in the masterclass that I'm going to show is how I've kind of worked on different elements of it, so that I don't know what I've perfected, but I have certain, if you like, houses, buildings that I draw time after time after time, which work for me. I'm going to put this back kind of wall in. Does
You
anybody
kind
need
of build your own scene as you go.
Yeah, you know, a lot of my scenes are from my imagination, and they're from snippets that I've seen around around the UK. I do realistic, if you like, paintings of well-known places, but a lot of my stuff, yeah, it's from the head.
So Maria just asked that. Maria Kelly asked, does he usually start his paintings from a reference photo or purely from imagination? So yes, you've just
nine times out of 10 from my imagination. Yeah. So going to go back over to the left hand side. Going to stick another couple of these warehouses, for want of a better word.
Do you find you get a mix of abilities come along to your workshops?
Workshops, yeah, all sorts of people, yeah. And people ask me, you know, they say, is it okay if we copy one of your paintings? I have no problem with that whatsoever, because, you know, every single painting is never the same as another one, ever. So no, I have no problem with that at all. So I'm going to put this pub in at the back that's just opened after lockdown. Right, so they're the basic shapes that we've got in the picture. I mean, as you can see, I haven't put any detail in at all. I've kind of mapped it out, so I know roughly where things are. I mean, it's stating the obvious, and I don't want to teach anybody's grandmother to suck eggs, but if you're doing a larger picture, which again, I do in the masterclass, or the workshop, buildings in the foreground obviously need to be bigger than buildings further back. I mean, I know that's stating the obvious, but then again, another way of looking at this is, because this is partially naive drawing, naive painting, it doesn't matter too much. You know, if you make an error in that, it really doesn't matter. So I've got my drawing all planned out. I'm now going to stick this pen away, and I do actually physically move it away, because when you've got two pens next to each other, it's so easy to pick up the wrong pen and use it. And I'm now going to use the fine line pen again. It's
just got a question here from Sally Penrose.
Yeah.
Sally, oh, Sally's live. Can you?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
I can't see all of the paper.
Could.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Sorry about that, Sally.
Thank you.
Okay, so these pens have the same quality as the other ones, that you can draw a line, instantly paint on it, and no bleeding. So back to our picture, and now I'm going to start to do a little bit more detail. Oh, sorry, I haven't talked about the colours that I use, but I'll move on to that later. So starting with the wall, there's different ways to do kind of bricks, stones. You can actually go and draw every single stone in individually, which can be a little bit tedious. I tend these days to just kind of suggest bricks, stones in a wall. You know, I leave little gaps, because walls in coastal places aren't that neat anyway. So a few gaps, a few different sizes.
The camera seems to be wobbling a bit, John. I don't know if it's the clip or the table or something. It wasn't.
Probably me. On there. See how that is.
That's better. That's better.
So I'm finishing off the wall. I'm putting a few stones here and there, very randomly, different sizes, a few dots. and I'm going to start to fill in some of these wooden posts. I have a very simple way of doing that. I literally just draw lines to kind of simulate wood. They don't have to be, let's go over here, they don't have to be straight, you know, crooked, wobbly. Works much better. I'm going to put a few kind of dots in to kind of simulate the knots for wood.
It's so amazing how a few gestural lines give the impression of the different, you know, the wall and the.
There was a professor who did a study some years ago about mark making, mainly children and mark making, and she maintains there are only 22 marks in the whole world.
Oh, interesting.
That every painting has a certain kind of, you know, whatever you're drawing or painting, but there's only 22 marks in the whole world. A few weeds cropping up. A few stones underneath. So that's our wall done there. This wall and this wall, you could use a different sort of approach because it's part of a key wall. You know, you could do some bigger stones, but I'm just going to carry on with what I've done already. Just realised that I've missed a couple of the boats off, so I'm going to go back with the thicker pen and I'm going to draw the bottom of the wall just in there, just extend it out, and we can fit a boat in there, I reckon. A couple of boats. Maybe a hut or two. Okay, how are we doing for time? Anybody?
Great. Well, we're 25 past now. Good. Do you want to do a bit more detail and then we break for hot and then painting afterwards, or how's best?
Yeah.
Was the painting all get done in one go, John?
Should do.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that.
So I'm popping in the windows on this house. Windows on the warehouses. And you can see, I'm sure, that my drawing is not, certainly not neat. It is quite quick, but it's quite rough and ready.
Yeah, sort of sketchy.
Yeah.
It lends itself to people kind of developing their own style within your style, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. This wall is wonky. Okay, so we're only going to see the top of the door. We're not going to see the whole door. And that starts to give a little bit of depth when you do this, because you can tell how high the wall is, etc.
Yeah.
Many of my paintings don't take into account a lot of perspective. They are very kind of 2D, two-dimensional, which I don't have a problem with. The depth in them comes from the colours you use and the layering of watercolours. So we've got our windows to do here. We've got different windows. Doesn't matter if you end up with one larger than the other. It's that kind of naive approach. And then we've got
interest, if anything, doesn't it?
Yeah. we've got the boat shed there. So now with the other pen, moving that one away, we're going to go into a bit more detail. So we'll start up here with the warehouses, and all I'm going to do is simply pop the window frames on and draw in that weatherboarding.
So effective.
Move on to this house. I'm doing the chimney. Very simple, very, very simple. Another chimney there, the other house. Window frames. Back to this. Again, the weatherboarding. And then the roofs on the buildings. Got a couple of chimneys to do there, haven't we? So I do this quite quick because obviously I've been doing this for years, kind of thing. I would say to you, don't take too much time over it because it will look a little bit contrived. But I just literally just sketch down. Even though roofs actually go horizontally with their tiles, I just find this works for me.
Do you think that makes, because it's a different to the weatherboarding being horizontal, it adds contrast?
Yeah, very much so.
It's really effective.
We've got a little bit more roofing to do here. And I know, you know, because I've been doing it for a long time, I know that, you know, I don't go over the lines. But I think if you're having a go at this on your own, don't get sort of hung out about any mistakes. You know, it just takes practice to be quicker. Got the gates in that boathouse or shed. Again, weatherboarding, looking rough and ready. It's not perfect. It's an old place. It's quirky. It's rustic. Roof. We'll put some more stones in here. And a bit of detail on the boats. Bit of detail on the huts. And then the final thing I'm going to do with the drawing is I'm just going to put the windows in. You can do this one two ways. If I just turn over again, you can actually, using the thicker pen, you can actually just draw the windows in like so on a building without putting any window frames around. I tend to, going back to the original, I tend to draw in kind of window panes, especially for the houses, buildings at the front of the painting. If I was doing a large painting and I was going further and further back, then the windows get less detail, but we're able to do it on this occasion. And just a range of different kind of window arrangements. Door, I always tend to do wooden doors. And finally, just these windows in the warehouses. And then the very final bit, back with the thicker pen, just drawing in the panes of glass. And now the picture is starting to take on more detail.
That makes such a difference already
Yeah.
to the windows, doesn't it? To the
Yeah.
depth of them.
And probably need a few just little stones to show that little kind of jetty there. And then bricks in the chimneys. And that's the drawing finished, really.
Amazing. So so yeah, when you do your painting, yeah, as I said, you'll just do it all in one go. Shall we stop for a quick
Yeah, that would be good.
break right now?
Yeah.
We could yeah, okay, we have a quick break now. So it's time for a quick toilet break, quick glass of water break. And also, yeah, just to say at the end of the class, we'll be welcoming back watercolorist David Bellamy, who was on last week, to look through some of your interpretations of the mountain river scene that we painted with him last week. But for now, I'd like to invite John to share how we can build on these techniques we're learning in our postcard size to painting a quirky coastal scene in his forthcoming workshop. So tell us when it is and everything about it, John.
Okay, it's on August 25th. I think it's 2 o'clock.
3:30 it'll be.
3:30. It's on August 25th at 3:30. And I'm going to be trying to increase the level of detail in the scene that we're going to attempt. This is the painting we're going to attempt to do. We are going to look at how you sort of use detail in order to show depth in a painting, and also that this painting has no foliage whatsoever. We're going to be looking at how we can portray trees, bushes, etc., building up layers of watercolor, and also quite a big part of it is rectifying errors.
John, if you pop that painting on your table. Yeah. And
bear with.
if we go left. Yeah.
And we will also be looking at how we use the space on the paper for showing different moods, I guess. I'll also be talking about how you can adapt these kind of paintings into night scenes, rural subjects. Not all of my paintings are coastal paintings. Some of them are rural subjects. There's a lot of beautiful villages in the UK, and I give rural paintings the same treatment, really. So it's a chance to take on a painting that is relatively large. I mean, it's probably 10 by 8 inches. Yeah.
Great, thank you, John. That sounds, it's just beautiful. It's obviously you've got more of the beach in there and everything, haven't you? And the landscape behind. So
yeah.
Hopefully people get excited about coming along onto that. So everyone, you can book John's masterclass via our Arty Class page again. If I just share this with you on the main page, and if we scroll down, here's our today session. We'll get down to John's masterclass here. If you click on the details, just like you do when you're registering for an Arty class, but it will give you all the information, all the more detail and all the reference image and more information about it. And you can click on there to purchase at his shop. I'll put a link in the chat box. So for now, let's get back to some art. Back over to you, John, and do the painting.
Okay, so I'm kind of just using 3 colours: indigo, yellow ochre, burnt sienna. They're the colours that I use most in this kind of painting. I've done a quick colour chart here to sort of show different strengths. In terms of green, I often use a sap green. I've run out in the St. Petersburg watercolours, but quite often I just, not a great sort of colour match on here, but I often just use indigo and yellow ochre to make a green. Having a limited palette works for me. I think there's a temptation for those of us who start watercolors for the first time. I think there's a temptation to use every pan in the palette. I'd steer away from that. I would choose a relatively small group of colors to use. These particular colors work for my particular painting. So that's indigo, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and occasionally, as I say, sap green, but I often make a green. And again, I'm a little bit, I suppose, unconventional in the fact that I don't tend to do the sky till the end. I know a lot of artists say, oh, the sky dictates the mood of the picture. I don't know, it's just evolved that I do the sky last. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my number 6 brush, which is the thicker brush. You won't be able to see, and I don't think I can move it under, but I've got 2 glasses of water. I use one to wet the watercolors and obviously get the watercolors on the paintbrush, and then when I finish with that color, I'll rinse it in that dirty water and then take some clean water. Otherwise, your water just becomes completely muddy. Just get my reference sketch. So for the wall, I'm going to take some indigo. Water it down a bit, and you can see that the amount of paint I'm using and the amount of water is actually quite small compared to the way that some people use watercolors. I'll put a bit more on just to give it some different areas of interest. And then for this top area of the stones, I'm going to get some yellow ochre. I'm just going to run that along the top. Same again for the other walls. I'll just move the palette out of the way now. Not necessarily covering every bit of the white paper. It's, you know, watercolor is often about leaving white spaces for interest level, for texture.
The don't try and do anything about it now, John, but the camera does wobble, I think, when you're leaning on the table. So just
Right.
to say, we'll get that sorted for the masterclass, the workshop, so that we can work out a best way so that it doesn't sort of, it's picking up your movement, I think.
It is. I apologise for that. Run some yellow ochre at the top. Yellow ochre is also my choice of colour for any sand in a picture. And moving on to the roofs, what I try to aim for is that no two buildings have the same colour in terms of roofs or the paintwork. Again, to create interest for the eye. The last thing you want is a group of houses all looking the same sort of colour. So I just mix and match. I'm going to take some burnt sienna. Pop that on there. Take a bit of indigo mixed with the burnt sienna for the next one.
They won't hear you unless they let you on. So
For the warehouses, this kind of boat up there, the beach huts, again, just a mix of indigo, maybe watered down. If you wanted to make them a bit brighter, then you could use Prussian blue or cerulean blue. I'm lifting off some paint there because I felt I put too much on. Better use it up by doing these. And you can see that some of the paint is bleeding. That's fine, it's not a problem. Adds interest again. We best do the sand on the other bit over there. The hull of the boats. Wooden posts. And chimneys. Don't tend to I don't tend to worry if I go over the lines. I think it adds interest.
adds character, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm doing this at a fair speed because we've only got 45 minutes.
I was going to say, it's fast.
But
it's gestural movements, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, all I'm doing is going faster, really. That's all.
Allowing the paint to kind of do its thing.
Yeah.
Do you ever paint these in situ?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do go out various places. I mean, I'm never without paints, pens, or paper.
No.
Really.
Oh, in your masterclass, you have to show us your sketchbooks.
Yeah, yeah. Let's finish up the buildings. And, you know, once once you get confident with the picture, then, you know, do a bit of mixing on the paper. I'm adding a bit of indigo there to yellow ochre. Okay. Apart from the sky, that's about it.
Okay.
I have no problem in turning my work around
That's clever.
and painting upside down, because I am a great one for reaching with my hand across the painting and smudging it.
That's genius.
Okay?
That's genius, I said. That's really clever.
For the sky, I do tend to paint wet in wet. So I'm going to wet the sky area with clean water. And then I'm going to get some indigo. Let it kind of bleed around. And then I very often will pop a bit of yellow ochre. Could be a storm is on its way. We definitely need one here.
Clear the air.
Yeah. And the very final thing is I take a thinner brush. This is a number 2. I load it up with indigo and I do shadows. And it's often the shadows that give the picture the sense of depth, because there's not a lot of perspective in it. I don't have a problem with the shadows bleeding into the paint. Some people might. It's just what I'm used to. But again, I'm working at speed, so normally I would have let this bit dry first, and then done the shadows.
Right.
And they're not neat.
If it bleeds and people don't want to, you can kind of use a dry brush and.
Yeah, or you know, tissue. I've always got tissue handy. Or get or wash your brush in clean water, lift it out with the brush. And I think, you know, it depends what effect you actually would like, because if you let it dry and then do the shadows, then you're going to get a much more what's the word, stricter drawing or stricter painting. It's going to be a lot neater. I personally like sort of wet and wet painting, so that's what I've done. That's about it really. The last thing I might do, I might get hold of the thick pen again, just put some extra stones in,
Add some more
in there, and then it's finished.
thing.
And pop it in a frame.
Oh, look at that. Or actually, you can send it in the post to someone.
Yeah,
Postcard, it's gorgeous.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really excited to see. I've just got a quick question from someone. It's Anne. Hello, Anne. You've your hand. Can you hear me? You might need to unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hello.
No, I am not actually asking a question.
Okay.
Say how absolutely fabulous that is.
Oh, I agree. John, did you?
Wonderful. I just love the ease and the
Flow.
way it just melds together. I think it's fantastic.
I agree. With just a few colours and some pen work, it's amazing. Oh, that's a wonderful comment. Thank you. I
think with the pen work, I'm one of those people. I can't paint unless I'm in natural light, but I can draw in the evening. So quite often I will do some drawing, and then it might be the next day that I paint it. I can't paint in electric light at all. I just can't see colours properly. enough.
Yeah. Know what you mean, actually.
Yeah.
Good tip.
And also what I wanted to say was, obviously, you know, these are my choice of colours. You might decide that you're going to do a really kind of bright and colourful scene.
So there's plenty of scope to adding your own personalities.
I love those colours, but I'd also like to see them in sort of
Vibrant.
straight, vibrant colours like purples and blues and.
We look forward to seeing yours like it, Anne. Don't forget to put your pictures on Facebook for us, or come along to the masterclass.
That's lovely. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Oh, that was a lovely comment. Amazing. I just think it's so effective and a really enjoyable class. I can't wait to see what everyone has produced at home. So please send them in to our Facebook as a comment on the Facebook post. I'll put the link in our chat box, and it's already in the YouTube description. I'll just show you where that is in our somehow I'm unable to share that, so I'll just leave that right now, sorry. And has anyone got any more questions? Oh, there's one more hand up before we just quickly go over to David from last week. Lorraine, hi. Can you hear me? You might need to unmute yourself, Lorraine.
Oh, sorry, I think I pressed the wrong button, but thank you very much. I really enjoyed the workshop.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay, yeah, so what we'll do now is we will just pop over to see, and I'll bring back in David Bellamy, who was on last week. Hello, David. You might need to unmute yourself, actually, David. Can't hear you, David. So, can you press unmute on your screen? Can you see the red microphone? Yep. Yes, that's it. Hi, David.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear now. Thank you.
Oh, great. Yeah, that was a fabulous painting there. Well done, John. Great.
So, well, let's go over and have a look at, I know you've chosen a winner, but there's a few you'd like to pick out from your entries from last week. So I'll just share that screen this time. Here we go, got that one. And if I start at the top and we have a little, whoops, was through there, sorry, I seem to have come down the page. I think the computer is hot and it's not on my fingers and it's not performing as well today. Right, here we go. So if I just scroll through, David, and you make a comment.
Yes, I picked out 4 people other than the winner. Firstly, Cindy Wong, who has created a really nice glow in the sky.
Oh, yes, there.
Sense of mistiness there as well, which is very, very effective. Lovely clean washes. The foreground needs a little bit more strength, but we didn't really have a great deal of time to finish that off, so I fully understand that. The next one was Derek Stansfield, who has some lovely clean washes and again a great sense of space. Everybody who submitted the work, they all had a wonderful sense of space and distance, which was, of course, the main lesson for the demo. And, some omitted all the detail in the foreground, which is fine. Others applied quite a lot of brush strokes. The next one I'd like to comment is Julie Barnett. She's got a really good painting there. That works well. I just think that if you sort of faded out the furthest ridge a little bit as it goes behind the closer one, it would improve it even more. Think about that. That's something that would give you, give your painting a bit of a boost. And then Sally Penrith, I really love the watery effect just left of center. It's so beautifully done. It's simple but very effective. She's got a lovely swirl there. If you can go in close, it is.
Oh, Sally, I beg your pardon. Yes.
Yeah, it's quite different, but you can see the lovely swirl of water there. This Midimcola is a braided river at this stage. That is, it's got a lot of little rivulets and channels coming down there because the water is very low. But she's created a lovely effect there. Well done. So the winner is Terry Elsey. Although he says he lost the luminosity, the sky does glow beautifully. And this is why Naples yellow is a very good color for creating a bit of a glow in the sky. I know it's an opaque color, but if you use it fairly weakly, it has a lovely effect like that. And I love the softness of the ridges that Terry's created there. It's an excellent feeling of mood in the picture. That's a brilliant one. So that's it.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, David. Thanks for coming back on, and well done to Terry and to everyone's entries. They were spectacular. So yes, thank you, David. We'll see you shortly in your forthcoming masterclass. So
Okay, I'll see you then.
Yeah. See you then. Bye.
Bye.
So there's a couple of spots left on David Bellamy's masterclass that's happening at 3:30 today, if you fancy continuing your painting for today. But otherwise, let's say a big thank you once again to John for joining us today. We cannot wait to see your artwork. Please post it on the Facebook group, and hopefully we can invite you back next week, this time next week, John, as David's just done, and introduce, go through the entries and perhaps choose
like that.
a couple to talk about. Yeah, I'd love to have you back. And otherwise, everyone can book on your masterclass now.
Mm-hmm.
We look forward to that. I feel like it's a workshop that lots of people, all abilities could really do and create an image that is really sort of personal to them as well.
Very much so.
Which is what your technique really lends itself to. I feel. So that's exciting. So thank you very much again. So let's say a goodbye. It's a goodbye from me, and it's a goodbye from John.
Bye.
We'll see you soon. Bye.